Well folks, this is a video that I have put off long enough. It has been over 6 months since our 4Runner accident, and my Smittybillt hidden winch, my DIY winch mount that I had built and installed on our 4Runner was of course messed up pretty good in the accident. And since then, since the couple days after the accident, and we recovered it, the winch and the winch mount itself from sitting on the windshield on the dash of the 4Runner, it's been sitting wrapped in garbage bags in my parents' garage, mainly because I just, well, let's be honest, I didn't want to look at it. So that was something that took a lot of time and effort to put together. It was something that I was pretty proud of, the fabrication and the design that I did with that. I had built that as kind of a get out of jail free card, safety net if you will, for our family when we're going off-roading, so that we could get ourselves out of any sticky situations that we might be able to get ourselves into and not get ourselves out of. But of course, we never got to use it. So today, we are going to take a look at the damage to it, but there is some good news, and I cannot wait to share that with you guys, so stay tuned. Here it is. I guess we'll just take a little walk around, and I mean, the damage is pretty obvious. For explanation's sake, this front right here, this is the stock front crash bar. Let's see, turn this light up a little bit. From my 4th gen 4Runner. If you haven't seen the video where I built, and then there's some videos of installing and stuff, go check those out. Of course, I'll link those down below. The base of this is the Harbor Freight universal winch tray, and then as you can see, all my bracketry and angle iron and reinforcement and stuff along the back. As far as I can tell, yes, there is some minor tweaks and stuff, but all the welds look okay. Everything looks relatively straight. It's not like frames are all 100% perfectly square and identical. So when spoiler alert, go to reuse this, of course I need to take this all apart. I think I will be able to use the mount perfectly fine. I will thoroughly inspect it. Of course, we've got some aux beams lights on here that I had put on there. Those came out the grill, the front of the 4Runner. Those are of course all mangled. The lens inside this one is completely split, and the inner lens is split in half. My tow hook held up pretty good. We got some Carnage here on this aluminum fair lead. Now this is a Smittybillt 9,500 pound winch that came with a steel cable and a roller fair lead. I went ahead and swapped out to synthetic rope and aluminum fair lead. This black piece right here is just a heavy duty 3D printed fair lead to act as a spacer. This needed to be bumped out a little bit to work with the spacing on the stock front bumper of the 4Runner. The rope itself looks pretty good. You guys probably can't, well, maybe you can tell this handle is bent down and I can't get that to engage either way. Of course, this front cross piece is bent. These plastic tabs are broken off. I've got, oh boy. This isn't, I don't know if you could call this the housing, but this plate here, which is, as far as I can tell, cast aluminum, is cracked, and of course this bar is bent. This was the control module. It's completely obliterated. One of my mounts here is pretty mangled up because I had the box mounted to some angle and then bolted to some other angle here, which these look okay. Here's that's where you plug your remote into. I do have my remote. It was in my ammo can underneath the hood. Another DIY thing that I did. Check out a link for that. And we have another angle attached to another angle attached to the box. Like I said, I was pretty happy. I was pretty proud with how this all turned out, how it all fit together, how you could access everything that you needed to access pretty well. So this leads us up to the next part of the story. Alright, so the next part of the story, of course, my parents got tired of tripping over this in their garage, and then once I brought it home and was in my line of sight, I I don't know, I needed to deal with doing something with it. Of course, a lot of you have contacted me directly and through comments and stuff, wanting to know how the winch was, how the mount was, did I get the mount back, was I going to put it on the GX? And originally I had thought about putting it on the GX, but there is no front grill cutout in the GX, so I would have had to cut a hole in it. I didn't really want to do that, because if I ever went to sell the GX, then there'd be a hole in it, otherwise I'd have to sell it with the winch. Instead of keeping it back, using that as a negotiating price point. Plus, some videos that I need to update you guys on: the suspension, my tire setup. Quick recap, I am running 5100s with stock GX springs on the 3rd notch, which seems crazy, but those springs are pretty soft to begin with. I was running the Cooper Evo mud terrains, good tire. It was a pretty rough ride. It was what you would expect from a lifted 4x4 on some pretty aggressive tires. But after we put the BFG KO2s on, even with those stock springs, it runs and drives and rides and handles so nice, you guys. I'm going to be doing an update video on that. I actually have some heavier duty springs that I could put on it, because if I was going to put the winch on it and skids, there's going to be more weight, needed heavier springs, but then do I go with control arms? I got to get another alignment. Anyway, this has kind of thrown a wrench into things. Long story short, I think the winch is going to go back on because the rock stars at Smittybillt sent me a brand new winch. I'm not going to set it on this table because it's just a plastic table. So let's set this down here. I emailed Smittybillt with a bunch of pictures of what I thought could be wrong, what was obviously wrong with the winch, and asked them, can I get replacement parts? What's the deal? You know, of course, you know, I told them I had, you know, what had happened. We were in an accident. You know, this obviously was not Smittybilt's fault. I told, you know, kind of gave them an explanation what it was mounted to, because I thought that might, you know, play a factor. And of course I sent it through my YouTube, email. So there's all of that information. Part of the reason I bought a Smittybillt winch is because they have a pretty fantastic reputation for having lifetime warranty on their winches. Something goes bad, other than you blatantly wrecking it, they will get your stuff replaced. So I thought, hey, I will email them, see what they say. If they send me the stuff, you know, fantastic. I'll be happy to buy some of the parts, because I figure, you know, controller, a couple hardware odds and ends here, maybe it's not going to be too bad. Well, they emailed me back, which I was kind of surprised. Well, I wasn't surprised that they emailed me back, but what they did say was, hey, we looked at the pictures. It's pretty iffy. Here's what we think might be wrong with it and what you can get as far as replacement parts. But there's no way of knowing if the winch itself is actually good internally, and it's probably not going to be cost effective. I kind of expected them to be like, dude, sorry, that thing's toast, buy a new one. And they would have been well within my expectations for them to say that. So I emailed them back because I had to, obviously, and I said, well, yeah, I know, I understand. Would you guys be willing to sponsor the video where I try to bring it back to life and send me the parts? If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. No problem. Anyway, and again, I expected an email back, said, thank you for your inquiry, not something we're interested in doing. But to my surprise, they called me later that afternoon, and the guy was really friendly. He said, hey, I took a closer look at all those pictures you sent. He's like, I even watched the video where you built the mount. That's pretty cool. He said, there's no way of knowing that any amount of parts to throw at this would bring it back to life. And even if it did, there's no way to know that would be safe with, you know, internally without, you know, there's stress fractures and stuff like that, or if it would last, if it would have longevity even after it got running. You know, that's to be expected, no problem. Then he said, but I went ahead and talked to our manager over here and explained the situation and kind of what you do on YouTube and stuff, and we would be more than happy to send you a free replacement winch. So there's that. I was so ecstatic, you guys. I can't even explain to you how happy I was and I am. And a few days later, a new winch showed up. As you saw, I've already started to break this one down. I took the steel cable off it. We're going to take this cable off and inspect it. I believe that it's okay. It looks fine. But we'll wash some of the mud off of it and we'll take a much closer look at it. Obviously, we'll inspect this aluminum fair lead more closely. But as of right now, I think this is going to go on the GX. If nothing else, I think we will take the whole front of the GX apart and see if it bolts up, how it bolts up. If everything works out all right, the fair lead hole might end up right where my front license plate is. And if that's the case, I don't have a problem cutting a hole in the bumper there to mount that because I can always cover it up with the license plate later on in life. So anyway, there is what is going on with the winch and the winch mount. Again, a lot of you have asked and I've been putting it off, but now I have some good news and a light at the end of the tunnel that I'm super happy about. And Smittybillt didn't ask me to talk about this or anything, but when somebody treats you that well, we're gonna talk about it on social media because there's not enough good stuff going on these days. If you're new to the channel, this is kind of a lot of what we do. DIY stuff, 4x4 stuff. Like I said, I built this winch mount. I'll link some videos down below for that. And I think we'll put it on the GX. And yes, the frame rails on the front are the same. There might be some different supports and stuff under the bumper, but as far as I can tell, it should fit. And even a lot of the companies that make hidden winch mounts, it looks like they all use the same part number for 4th gens and 470s. So it should be very interesting. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Turn those notifications on for our normal Sunday uploads. Follow the links down below in the description over Instagram and Facebook where I post constantly and a lot more stuff than just 4x4s. It's my personal everyday life stuff as well. So until the next video, thank you for watching. Take care. Goodbye.